I thought this deal was a win-win for both sides. If you're the Jets, you get rid of a quarterback and get some draft picks for a guy that wasn't going to play at all because you're going to draft a quarterback. And if you're the Panthers, a team that's been looking for a quarterback all season, now you get a 23-year-old quarterback that has some potential, some upside, and you hopefully be able to tap into that potential. But this deal was done when Joe Douglas went to Zach Wilson's pro day. And I know Brandon loves Justin Fields, but I think Joe Douglas likes Zach Wilson. He saw the arm talent, he saw the athleticism, and at that point, he got on the phone and started trying to find a place to send Sam Darnold. And just think about this, Brandon. 2 years ago, Joe Douglas is in Philadelphia, not a lot of power or control because at that point, Howie Roseman is there. And so Joe Douglas ends up in New York. He's found a way to get his head coach, Robert Saleh. He has his choice at quarterback at this point. And now he has the ability to go out there and compete. He's built his team in a pretty decent way. He's found some free agents this offseason. Now he has to go out there and compete. He has a quarterback. He has a coach. He now has to build that team. And he's going to have to compete against the Patriots, who are trying to build their team through free agency. You're talking about a gritty Dolphins team that played well last year, and also the class of division in the Buffalo Bills. And so I think this is a great place for the Jets to be at this point, probably a better place than they've been in the last 10 years.
Okay, so I'm just going to take this whole Zach Wilson, Justin Fields conversation. I'm going to sit it on the shelf, all right? I heard the disrespect to the Jets. I heard the disrespect to my take and my feelings. I'm going to just put it right here, okay? Look,
no disrespect.
It was a great trade. It was a great trade. I thought we would get a 2 for him. We got more. But here's the deal. When you look at it, this whole trade, this whole conversation around, well, should they keep Sam Darnold? That whole nonsense. No, you don't keep Sam Darnold when you have the number 2 overall pick and you're taking a quarterback, a Justin Fields or a Zach Wilson. I'll throw his name in there because everybody want to talk about this Zach kid. So, no, I'm glad we made the trade. But the only thing that, I'm a little disturbed about is that we got a 6th-rounder this year. In the NFL, it stands for not for long. We live day to day, week to week, year to year at times. So when you look at that, what is that 6th-rounder going to do for a Justin Fields or a Zach Wilson? What are they going to do for those veterans in the locker room? What are they going to do for those coaches? Now, I know Joe Douglas is known to be a really good college scout. And I made some calls yesterday because I had one interaction with him. I went to the Florham Park, went into the facility. I met him one time, and he was just like a one-word guy. And I was like, there's not much to him. So I really didn't know. So yesterday I had to make some phone calls. I'm like, tell me more about Joe Douglas. And they said, Brandon, this guy knows what he's doing. And this was around the league. They said when it comes to college scouting and building in the draft, he is that guy. So I have to trust that he has a plan, whether it's more ammo to move up in this year's draft, or he's looking at it saying, we have a lot this year. Next year, I'm just worrying about can we come back and do it again? So Joe Douglas, I have to believe in him. But if I'm a veteran in that locker room, Nick, I'm like, what is this 6th-round pick going to do for me this year? I need to win right now.
Well, if you're a veteran in that locker room, you probably are coming off a pretty bad season. They didn't have a lot of veterans exactly distinguish themselves in glory last year as they were barreling towards 0-16, and they ended up winning a couple games. And I think it's a smart, long-term view by Joe Douglas, understanding that if the best value we can get comes in the 2022 draft rather than 2021 draft, so be it. Like, sometimes it's better to wait. And they do have plenty of draft ammo already for this year. Now they have more for next year. So I think the Jets got about 110 cents on the dollar for Darnold, because I don't think the Panthers are going to be good next year. So I think that's going to be a high 2nd-round pick. And so you're going to end up with a pick in probably the high 30s, plus a 4th-rounder, plus a 6th-rounder. I also think it speaks to how far Darnold has fallen that 3 years after he goes 3rd overall, getting the equivalent to maybe the 35th pick of the draft all in is considered, at least by me, 110 cents on the dollar. I also think this informs why a team like the Niners thinks they can get a 1st-round pick for Jimmy G. If Darnold's worth a good 2, a good 4, and a good 6, then Jimmy G is worth at least a bad number 1. So I think this is the Jets attempting to build things the right way. And I think taking advantage sounds bad, but that's how I view it. Taking advantage of maybe a slightly over-eager new owner in Carolina, a team that instead of wanting to slow cook a rebuild, wants to microwave it a bit and say, oh, maybe Darnold can be the guy he was in college, but has never shown that he can be in the pros. So I think all things considered, Wilds, the Jets did as well as they could have done, but they'd like to have that third overall pick all over again. And keep in mind, it's worse than that because they traded up from 6 to get Darnold at 3. They ended up trading, including 3 second-round picks to move up. So that's a lot of equity they spent on a player who they ended up getting nothing out of.
Well, my reaction, Nick, was that I was happy that Carolina had finally listened to me. I said, you know what you should view Sam Darnold as? Don't view him as a quarterback of the New York Jets who's lost a lot of games. Just view him as a project, and that he should have go down to House of Athlete and have a pro day, and then compare him to Mac Jones, compare him to Trey Lance, and see where he lines up. And that's what I think Carolina did. If we can see the draft order, Carolina is drafting in a spot where there's going to still be one of the big 5 quarterbacks still there. We know that Trevor Lawrence is off the board. Sorry, Brandon, we know that Zach Wilson is probably off the board. Maybe San Francisco takes Mac Jones, maybe he doesn't. But the Falcons are hunting. I thought the Falcons were going to get a tight end. We know the Bengals aren't going to take anybody. They're happy. We know the Dolphins, who love to collect quarterbacks, but seems like they're married to Tua. Are the Lions going to be eating kneecaps in drafting quarterbacks? I don't know. Stick with Goff. So then there you are. So is Trey Lance going to be on the board? Probably. Is Justin Fields going to be on the board? Maybe. But to me, Nick, that's saying that like Sam Darnold, the thing. Brandon, he could be there. Brandon, I'm sorry, he could still be there.
Since you pushed the conversation to the Carolina Panthers, and you talked about Sam Darnold coming down to House of Athlete, he's not going to do that. He's out west with Jordan Palmer, guy who joined us last week, and he's working on the things he needs to. Look, I do think the kid's upside is there. I do think he was in a bad situation in New York. But you know who is here and who trains here every day? Is Teddy Bridgewater. When I get out of here, Teddy Bridgewater is going to be in the locker room finishing up his workout. And so when you look at this, Nick, the situation, I don't know if Sam Darnold is better than Teddy Bridgewater. Matter of fact, he's not. Did we forget what he did down in New Orleans when Drew Brees went down? What did he go, 6-0, and he lit it up? He opened the offense up? This is a dude who was having a phenomenal start to his career out in Minnesota. Now, he wasn't putting up big numbers, but the kid was winning. He was getting everybody involved, and nobody had anything bad to say. And then you go to last year. This dude has the weapons. They bring the weapons back. They're healthy. McCaffrey's coming back. And you compare the numbers the last 3 years, and it's night and day. And so I'm not sure, that the Carolina Panthers got better.
I don't think they did either. I also think Teddy is better than Sam Darnold, but, and this is Teddy Bridgewater's kind of lot in life, if Teddy Bridgewater is your quarterback, you are always going to be looking for an upgrade. He is a good-ish starting quarterback, but not a guy that is going to make you feel like, well, we're set at the position for the next decade. The question I would have for you, Brian, is, to me, this is very clearly a bet against Adam Gase. Like, this is saying, all right, Ryan Tannehill was a first-round pick who looked like a bust. Miami got rid of him. He gets away from Adam Gase, goes to Tennessee, and plays really, really good football. Super efficient the last 2 years in the playoffs in the AFC title game a couple years ago. Do you buy the idea that it was not mostly Darnold, it was mostly a lack of weapons, a lack of offensive line play, and a terrible offensive system, and that maybe Darnold is going to look like a totally new player in Carolina?
Well, Nick, what we hear every single year from head coaches, GMs, owners, is we have to put talent around our quarterback. And we all know that Sam Darnold had no talent around him up there in New York. And so if you're telling me that he's going to be the same guy that he was in New York, that he'll be down there in Carolina, I just doubt that. I think he's going to have a bunch of talent around him. Christian McCaffrey is one of the best backs in the league. DJ Moore is a really good receiver. Robbie Anderson, a speedster that can get down the field. And you're talking about talent around him. And so when you think about it, I think when you're talking about, Joe Brady and those guys down there, they're saying Teddy Bridgewater is a floor for Sam Bradford. He has a little bit more upside. I don't think they believe that Teddy Bridgewater has enough upside to take their team where they want to be. That's why you make a move for a guy like Sam Bradford. And I think when you add the talent around him, he'll be a better quarterback. It remains to be seen what he's going to be, but he'll be much better than he was up there in New York.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.